Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive in 5 podcast. I hope you are doing okay and are having a great day so far. So the episode title of this is maybe a bit mysterious, but I'm going to tell you what my dog trainer taught me about why humans burn out. And to do this, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story, which actually has nothing to do with being a professional woman or professional life, but hopefully it's a story that you find interesting and maybe slightly amusing. Because a few months ago, I had to take my dog to see a psychologist. Trevor, my dog Trevor, he is the sweetest dog. He's currently sat on my feet sunbathing, looking very adorable. He is the sweetest dog. He is gorgeous. Obviously, I think that he's meant to be a beautiful dog in the wild, but he is gorgeous. He is cuddly. He is cute. He's currently grumbling, so he obviously agrees. But he's a proper lockdown dog. He is, oh God, how old is he now? 4.5? Almost 5. Oh my God, he's almost 5. That's really scary. He's almost 5, and we picked him up around the 10th of October, 9th of October 2020, and literally 2 weeks later we went into a lockdown that lasted until April, May, maybe even later than that second/third lockdown. And as a result of that, he never got to socialise. We did see my parents a bit during that lockdown because we kind of bubbled with them, but he didn't see anybody. We did go to dog training, like socially distanced, just me and the dog trainer. He never met other dogs because we couldn't take him anywhere where there would be other people because of the whole COVID thing. He has quite a bad view of the vets as a result of that, because he could only ever go to the vets. I was never allowed into the vets with him at the time. And in the house, he is beautifully behaved. Like, he knows all sorts of tricks, some of them really pointless. If you offer him his favourite treat, a frozen carrot, he will do a backflip. Honestly, he is so obedient in the house. He will come whenever you call him. He's so affectionate and sweet and just wants cuddles. But on a walk, he is an absolute monster. He is this angelic little spaniel who looks like a teddy bear. Like, he's so cute. And he sees another dog and he goes crazy. He would go absolutely crazy. He would bark, he would snap, he would snarl, he would bite me. I was having to replace my wellies every 2 weeks because he would bite my leg every time he saw another dog. If I got between him and the dog, which is what the internet told me to do, he would lose his mind. The amount of times my parents would come back from walks with us and be like, he is 2 different dogs. He is like a monster on a walk. He is just horrendous. He would be snapping and growling and frothing at the mouth. And I used to come back from walks regularly in tears because it was so awful. I would come back, he would pull me over and I'd be bruised, I'd be bitten, and I used to dread taking him out in case we saw another dog. And if he did, I would panic and I would end up walking. We live in a really beautiful area, but I would walk these really complicated routes so we wouldn't see any other dog. And it reached a point where I was sitting there going, this is stupid. My dog is 4 years old and I can't enjoy taking him for walks or taking him places because this is happening. And it wouldn't, the thing was, it wouldn't even happen every time. It would happen sometimes and not other times. And it just got very, very difficult. And it reached a point where I was like, look, this is stupid. We have this beautifully behaved dog who is in the house an absolute angel. Why can we not translate this onto walks? So I went to the vets and asked some advice. Did he need medication? Did we need him to what was the option here? Do I just never walk him again? And he referred me to a behaviorist, not a psychologist, but it was good. It was good for the title. And this behaviorist was absolutely fascinating. We got it on pet insurance, which made it better. But she explained to me, and this is where this links back to what we've been talking about this week. She explained to me that Trevor's biggest issue was stress. Now, when she told me this, I went, are you absolutely kidding me? What has my dog got to be stressed about? My dog who, every time he goes to my mum's house, gets a frozen carrot, his favourite food. My dog who gets to sleep in the bed with us whenever there's a thunderstorm or he has a bad night. My dog who sits on the sofa he owns the place, who lies on his back like a human, who watches TV with Harry sat next to him. What has this dog got to be stressed about? He wants for nothing. Well, it turns out quite a lot. And this is the first lesson that my dog trainer taught me. All stress is valid, even if we look at it and don't see it as stressful. Just because something might not be stressful to someone else doesn't mean it's not stressful to you. Something a lot of my clients will say to me is, I know it might not seem like much to some, but for me, X, Y, Z. If it's stressful to you, it is stressful to you. The fact is, Trevor found a lot of his life very stressful. The fact that I look at it and think he lives in the lap of luxury is kind of irrelevant. I can't explain to Trevor that he's very, very lucky and that there are dogs in other parts of the world who have much worse problems. The fact is, for him, the things that he finds stressful, he finds them stressful, and we can't legislate for that. So if there is something in your life, lesson 1, if there's something in your life that you find stressful, Just because it might not be stressful to somebody else, just because somebody much more senior than you might not find that thing stressful, it's stressful to you, so it's a stressor. And the problem for Trevor wasn't just the stressor, it wasn't just the stressful thing, it was how lots of different stressors in his life, and again I feel ridiculous saying this because his life is very, very cushy, but whatever, those stressors accumulate. And Penny, the dog trainer, she described it as a sink. There were lots of small things adding to Trevor's stress levels, and all of those small things would slowly fill his sink up. So in the morning, he sees the bin men come, and that adds a little bit of stress to his sink. He goes outside in the garden, and I have to wipe his feet, and he hates his feet being touched. So that adds a little bit more stress to his sink. I go out and leave him at home for a little bit. That's a little bit more stress. He sees a cat go past the window, a little bit more stress. The postman comes, loads of stress. The postman's incredibly stressful for Trevor. We then go for a walk, and I make him walk to heel when he really wants to go explore. That's stress. And that sink is now quite full. And then he sees another dog, and that is probably the biggest stressor in Trevor's life, seeing a dog, and his emotional sink overflows. He finds seeing a dog incredibly stressful because he doesn't really understand other dogs, he's never really been around them, he doesn't understand it, and so for him that is the biggest stressor for him. So, and the reason why sometimes a dog wouldn't tip him over the edge is because his sink wasn't quite full yet. I'd find that sometimes I'd take him for a walk and he wouldn't bark at another dog, he wouldn't be kicking off, but I'd get him home and put him in the sink to bath him, and he would go mental at me, and he would like not want to talk to me, and he'd be like really growly and grumpy because that was the thing that overflowed his sink. If he saw that dog first thing in the morning, it might not stress him out, but when his sink is full, bingo. And that is lesson 2, and that is a really important lesson that we can all take, is that there are lots of things that can fill your emotional sink up. And it can be a small thing that sometimes tips you over the edge, that leads you to hitting burnout, that leads you to hitting a kind of completely stressful, difficult situation to handle. So that's, I guess, the thing to think about is we all have emotional sinks. Trevor has one, we all have one. And when our emotional sink overflows, that is when we've hit burnout. That is when we've hit a point where we cannot carry on. Once we understood the cause of Trevor's stresses and why he responded the way he did, we could then look for things that drained his sink. Now, I often joke that Trevor, if dog could have ADHD, Trevor would have it, because he is always on the go. He doesn't sit and chill. Like, he will lie on the sofa and relax, but I can almost see his brain working. He's constantly looking at things, looking around, trying to figure out what he can play with, what he can do. It's like his brain is just constantly on overdrive. And we needed to find ways to make him be more mindful and present. And unfortunately, you can't give a dog one of those like Headspace subscriptions. You've got to find other ways. We have to find ways to drain his emotional sink by allowing him to be more mindful. So we did 3 things. 1, we would walk him on a loose lead so he doesn't feel constrained. We would not have him on a short lead. We would give him a long line that we could pull in if we needed to, but we would teach him to spend more time with his lead loose. We can't let him off a lead because he doesn't really have very good recall, but we could have him on a really long loose lead, because for him, and there's a little lesson in here, freedom is less stressful than restriction. When he feels restricted and constrained, that adds to his stress level. So the more freedom we can give him, the less stressful his life will be. We also taught him a game where he has to go and sniff for treats, because for him, sniffing helps him to be present in the moment. I'm not telling you to go do that, don't worry. And we also gave him a way of eating his dinner with a snuffle mat that really slows him down to be more present and relaxed whilst he's eating. So lesson 3 for all of us to take from this is that we humans have to empty our emotional sink, and we do it in the same way that Trevor does it, just we might apply it slightly differently. First of all, we need freedom. It is incredibly stressful. It's one of the reasons within the TFP and within the More to Life program, restrictive diets are not part of what we do, because that adds to your stress levels. The more restricted you feel, the more stressed you will be. So giving you freedom, giving you choice, giving you the capacity to have space to make your own decisions, that will help reduce your stress levels. As humans, we also need to find things to do to connect our brain and our body in order to de-stress. For Trevor, that is sniffing. Sniffing for a treat helps him to connect his brain and his body. So he's having to think and he's having to use his physical body. It's the same for humans. We have exactly the same way of de-stressing. For me, the things that I do that connect my brain and my body are things like playing video games. I've talked about this in the past. I love a video game. Things like doing a puzzle. I play a musical instrument. I sing. Those things help me to connect my brain and my body. I have clients who love to do sewing. I also love cooking. Reading is a great example of this. You're using your eyes and your hands, and you're having to sort of like connect your brain and your body. The gym, exercise, workouts, a great way to connect your brain and your body. I do a spin class once a week that literally is just me, my brain and my body working together, pushing ourselves, and it's great. That is the second thing that we as humans need to do to empty our emotional sinks. And thirdly, as humans, we need to slow down and be more present and mindful in the everyday things we do in our lives. That is hard to do when you are stressed. When you're not stressed, it's very easy to take the time and chill and relax. And like when you're on holiday, you swan about and everything's lovely. But when you are in the midst of a busy time at work or, a stressful commute, it's very hard to slow down and take time to be present. So we have to consciously do things that force us to do that. Trevor eats his dinner off a snuffle mat. Would not recommend that for humans. You'd look a bit weird. But we can do things like putting our food out onto a plate and eating it slowly and being present and enjoying it. We can do things like actually breaking our food down into smaller portions so we have to take time to eat it. We can do things like pouring our water into a glass rather than having it from a bottle, so we have to take the time to drink it. For Trevor, doing these things, the things I've just talked about, he's a different dog. Like, he does still bark at other dogs on walks sometimes, but he has his limits, he has his boundaries, and he knows that if those limits are breached, he's going to kick off. But in general, he is so much more relaxed. And a little lesson in here, I guess, is I know the warning signs of when he's stressed, and I know the ways to bring his stress levels down and when not to push. And that's something that we can learn from as well. We can learn to recognize actually what are our warning signs that our emotional sinks are a bit full, and what are the things that we can do to bring our stress levels down in the moment, and how can we actually manage ourselves so that when we are stressed, we don't do things that add to that stress level. So again, an example I have with clients a lot of the time is when we are in periods of really high stress, we may change what we're doing from a health and fitness perspective, from a diet perspective, from a workout perspective, so that those things don't add to your stress levels, because sometimes they can do, and we have to manage that. And as I say, what I learned from Trevor's dog trainer applies to all of us, and I actually use a lot of these ideas within the TFP Stress Less system, which I will talk about tomorrow. I've based a lot of this on other research as well. I haven't just taken what my dog trainer said, but a lot of it applies, and it was a fascinating experience seeing it kind of in action with a small creature who has his own different way of thinking about the world. But a lot of the ideas, as we can see, they apply to how we might live our lives. But the big lesson in all of this that I took, and the big lesson that I think we can all take from it, is the power of asking for help. It is really hard to ask for help. And when I went to the vet, I thought I was going to be laughed out of the room for having a dog that couldn't go for walks. Like, I've got this beautiful pedigree dog that was quite expensive. It's not like he's a problem dog that's come from an abusive home or anything. And yet I couldn't walk him, and I was really embarrassed, and I was worried that people would judge me. But once I got that help, without Penny's support, I would still be replacing my wellies every 2 weeks, and Trevor bites through them. With the right help, your life can change, and it can be so much better. And now I'm going to finish recording this podcast and take Trevor out for a walk, and I'm really looking forward to it because I know we're going to have a lovely walk, and he's not going to kick off, and he's not going to bite me, which is always a win. With the right help, your life can change, and that is what the More to Life program is all about. It's the right help for professional women who want to lose weight. I'm not going to go on about it here. I've talked to you enough. The detail of the More to Life program is in the episode description, and tonight, Thursday the 6th of March, is your last chance to inquire. I have dropped all the stuff into the caption, including a link to my calendar to book in a call. So if you don't want to go through having a chat with me, you can just book in a call and we'll go from there. Don't miss out on your chance. As I say, doors closed tonight. I'm not going to be taking any inquiries after that. So if you want to reach out, please do. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one, and I will speak to you tomorrow.